I was in college, I was the only kid who had a Roger Corman button. Everybody else had a Jean-Luc Godard button. So I was a fan, and I had grown up watching Roger's pictures all through high school and college. I was convinced that he was a great filmmaker. I got a chance to work for Roger doing trailers, and Alan Arkush and I were offered a chance to direct a picture that John Davison was going to produce if it was the cheapest movie that Roger had made up to that point. It was $60,000 in 10 days. Because we were actually shooting the movie in the daytime and then going back to the editing room and doing trailers at night, because it was the only way we could do both, because you said you can direct it, but you got to still do your other job. And so we made this sort of cheesy little comedy. Cut. To everybody's surprise, it turned out, and it was like on film and had sprocket holes and stuff, and played in theaters. Not many, God knows, but some. And that eventually led to other things, and I got a chance to do this picture called Piranha.
Piranha, the deadliest man-eaters of all.
And made this sort of spoofy Jaws imitation. It wasn't spoofy because we thought ill of it. It was spoofy because we knew we couldn't afford to make the kind of movie that was going to really compete with a movie like Jaws. And so we kind of made a parody of 50 science fiction movies with piranhas in it.
They were unleashed into America's waterways to churn quiet streams into rivers of living death.
And that picture was pretty successful. So based on that, I got a lot of offers for giant turtle movies and Orca the Killer Whale and some other stuff, which I didn't do. Well, the casting director for this picture was Susan Arnold, who was the son of Jack Arnold, who had directed The Incredible Shrinking Man and Creature from the Black Lagoon. She brought in a lot of really, really interesting people. And Dee Wallace, of course, who I had seen in 10 and was the first real, quote, actress that I had ever worked with, because she was very, very serious and very fragile.
I don't remember.
And I think I was hired for the part because I am so vulnerable, and most of the stuff is like that far underneath the surface, you know.
Bill, wake up, there's something out there. Outside, something was howling.
I really hadn't figured out quite yet how to be the character and then not be the character when they said cut. And so I sort of kind of was her for 6 weeks.
She lived as if this thing was really happening to her.
What's that gun?
God!
In the emotional scenes, and the scenes where she had to be frightened or emotional in any way, she really got into it.
I can't see him. I can't see him.
She had a particular aversion to violence, and I think that all of that added to her wonderful risibility in the role. She would get very genuinely upset and overwrought, and it was all very organic.
Dee really doesn't differentiate between a rubber appliance that's frightening and a real werewolf that might be in the room with her.
I felt like I really needed to believe what was happening. You have to screw around with your mind a lot, you know. You have to, and energy. It takes a huge amount of energy, at least the way I work, to cross that line where you're going, this is what I think I ought to do in this scene, and this is how I'm going to act it out. And go, okay, I'm just going to be there. This guy's really going to turn into a werewolf. And I'm going to believe it, and I'm going to live in the moment. And that's really going to happen. I know it sounds all dorky and weird and actory and dramatic and all that, but that's how I work.
It would take a lot of time to bring her down from some of the emotional peaks that she would reach in the scenes, and I had never obviously encountered that kind of thing before. It was great for me. There was no difficulty to directing her because she did take direction. The only difficulty for me was that once she would get to a place, sometimes it would be hard for her to get away from that place. Once she had reached that emotional peak, it wasn't like, okay, now we're going to do a comedy scene. She would really still be there.
Acting's personal in it. If we didn't want to open our hearts and show them to people, then we shouldn't be in this business.
This is Karen's husband.
Oh, you've got quite a brave young lady there, Mr. White. Neil. Bill Neal.
They couldn't find anybody to play my husband. And Chris and I were engaged at the time. I said, but, you know, I knew if I'd said, you ought to read my fiancé, that was going to be the first thing that they were going to not do. So I said, you know, I know this actor. Gosh, what's his name? Christopher something. Stone! Christopher Stone. He did absolutely fit what Dan Blatt was looking for. He went in and read, and he got the part on his own. And Dan called, I don't know, the next day, and I picked up the phone, and he went, "Oh, Dee, I'm sorry. I was trying to get Christopher Stone. I guess I dialed the wrong number." And he said, "No, you dialed the right number." And there was this long pause, and he went, "Oh, you're not telling me this. You're not telling me that you guys..." I said, "Yeah, we're engaged." He said, "Oh, this is not good. This is not good. You will gang up on me on the set." I said, "We will not gang up on you on the set, and just think all you have to do is rent one trailer."
No.
You don't know what it's like.
I don't want to know.
I don't prepare a lot. And I don't like to rehearse a lot. And I don't like to know what I'm going to do before I do it. And Chris was absolutely the antithesis of that. He knew what he was going to do. He wanted to plan out what he was going to... So, you know, in that respect, it was a little weird because we worked different ways.
Are you wearing what I asked you to? Good.
Bob Picardo was another discovery of Susan Arnold's.
Just prior to this, I believe, he had been on Broadway playing Jack Lemmon's son in Tribute. He was the real thing. He was a legitimate. He was a stage actor. He's from New York, very well trained.
And he had one other major characteristic, which was he was willing to sit still for Rob Bottin to cover him with latex and all that other stuff that he does for hours and days on end.
I do remember one day being very glum, and I'm sitting in the hallway after my 6.5-hour makeup session, ready to shoot, looking very despondent, like, oh gosh, you know, trained at Yale, 2 leading roles on Broadway, my first movie in California, my face is melted off in a low-budget movie.
The audition scene that we did was the scene in the booth.
But you're different, Karen. I watch you on TV.
Bob came in and did this reading with Susan playing the character, and that so creeped her out.
I sat her in a chair, and I got behind her and would not let her turn her head and look at me. And I just came right over her shoulder.
I'm going to light up your whole body, Karen.
It was immediate that this guy was, you know, great.
He was so convincing in the reading and so scary. And of course, he's a really great, funny guy, but, you know, we were just riveted by how powerful and creepy he was able to be as an actor.
If you're going to play a werewolf, you might as well celebrate that kind of elemental, animalistic freedom that it gives you.
You said on the phone that you wanted to get to know me. Well, here I am, Karen. Look at me.
I don't remember Robert. I only remember Eddie.
I think we better call the cops.
I had seen Belinda in Cannonball, which was a Paul Bartel movie.
That's how he got introduced to me. So then he brought me in on Piranha.
They're here, and they're hungry.
We did Piranha, and she was great and very, very tolerant of the stuff we put her through.
Well, the one thing I like about Joe is that he's very loyal, and he tends to use the same people in movie after movie.
Christopher, you're not going to believe this.
So when it came time to do The Howling, there was this sort of second banana character who, of course, gets killed. Obviously, this was the girl. I mean, she gets killed in almost every picture she makes. She's perfect for this. Dennis Dugan had been Richie Brockelman, Private Eye, on what was supposed to be a spin-off series from the Rockford Files.
Look, I'm in a hurry here. This is an emergency.
And now he's a very successful comedy director.
Times have changed, and we haven't. Not enough.
Patrick Macnee really brought a lot as, you know, that kind of David Frost quality, you know, that he had as this very smooth media, you know, representative of the colony.
I play a civilized man in this, civilized? What am I saying? I play a psychiatrist. But anyway, one of those phony psychiatrists that are on television, and I take her up because I want to see her nude in a tub. A lot of nudity in this film, which is really great fun.
Marcia.
Oh, you're through, Doc. She's ours now.
Elizabeth Brooks was incredible. Once we put her in the makeup and the wig, Charles Adams would have died to have her play Morticia. I like character actors, and I also like to work with my friends. So by the time I had gotten to the point of doing The Howling, I had already worked with Kevin McCarthy, so I asked him to be in the picture.
Listen, get in touch with that Fujimoto, or whatever the hell her name is, and get her ready for the 11 o'clock report.
See, I like to put the writer in the movie if possible.
Quist is still with John Doe's. We haven't had time to refile him.
It's nice to have the writer on the set, and if you're on a location, chances are, they're not going to want to fly him there. But if you hire him as an actor, you can sort of make a case for it.
There's old Stu, smiling up at me, leaking seawater out his ears.
When I hired James Murtaugh, I was not aware that he was the A1 steak sauce guy.
Raymond? No, I try to stay away from me.
Maybe later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But he had that face. He had that kind of face of somebody that you'd like. He looked like your next door neighbor.
This is my wife, Donna.
John Carradine I had tried to get for Piranha, but he wasn't available, and I always liked him, and put him in the movie, and he was great to be around.
Let me go, I want to end it.
Well, John Carradine was an actor who said yes to a lot of movies when he should have said no. I think that his performance in The Graves of Wrath is one of the great American performances. I'd followed him because he'd also been in a lot of horror pictures and stuff. He played Dracula, and I'd always liked him. When he said yes to doing the movie, I was really thrilled and excited.
Took some persuading, did she?
As he approached the crew, he looked like one of these guys that lives in the bushes in Griffith Park, and I really thought, a transit is coming. And then he walked up, and I saw Joe greeting him, and I said, oh my goodness. Well, he was in character in a way, even when he was walking up the street.
Slim Pickens was in the movie because I had always liked him, and you had to like this guy. He was going to turn out to be a werewolf, so you wanted to make sure that people liked him. And he had been doing cameos like this in picture after picture after picture at the time.
What you ladies need is a good retriever.
Everybody knew who he was, even when they didn't know his name. We cast the movie off a draft that was not the one that we actually shot. And so John did know who a lot of these characters were going to be before he finished polishing them.
And so I wrote a bunch of dialogue that I felt like, well, if Slim Pickens said this, it would really work.
Hey, Doc said on the phone that you folks had a coyote problem out here. Hey, you're famous, ain't you?
And he accepted the role, and I guess he came and said, boys, this dialogue fits me like a glove.
We get them all. Sun worshippers, moon worshippers, Satanists. The Manson people used to hang around here and shoplift.
The Howling got me a little pissed at first because he said, I got your day's work on the picture. I said, that's all there is? That's all there is? You don't fit in. You don't look like a werewolf. You don't look like... Forget it. All right, take the day's work. And we got down there, and as it unfolded, it started to become my favorite part. And to this day, it is still my favorite part. With 150 pictures behind me, that is still a favorite part.
I got chicken blood, I got dog embryos, I got black candles, I got wolf bane. Look at this. Silver bullets. Some joker ordered them. 3006. Never picked them up. I take Bank America, American Express, Visa.
The name of the character that Dick plays in The Howling is Walter Paisley. Now, this was the name of a character he played in a picture called Bucket of Blood.
Walter Paisley is born.
Watching Roger's pictures when I was younger, he would appear. He was one of Roger's stock company.
Take me away to some cool blue place. Gas me.
I can't. I gotta go home.
I once got a letter from someone in England. They wanted me to do a part for them, and I said no, and they said, can we use the name? Like I had it copywritten. Can we use the name? Walter Paisley. So I figured, I'll take a shot. I said, no, I forbid it. And they didn't use it.
When I did my first picture, the one thing that was important was writing a part for Dick Miller as a sleazy agent, which we did.
You don't take a job unless you check with your agent.
He said, you play an agent, we'll call him Walter Paisley. I said, okay, fine.
You want an Amazon girl and a giant python. Hold on a sec.
Dick really just became and still is a good luck charm for Joe.
Crazy fuck.
Dick Miller is in all the movies that I do. I've only done one feature that Dick wasn't in, and it was because he got cut out.
Oh, boy.
Every time I read a script, it's like, you read the script and you try to figure out what you want to do with it or if you want to do it, and then and there's that other nagging question, where's the part for Dick Miller? Because if there isn't one, well, how can I do this? So, this rules out, movies about Pashtuns and, also just a lot of subject matter that I just can't face.